Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on when you are finally rolling out of bed today. It is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026.
And Sundays are sacred.
They really are. Sundays just have this very specific texture to them. It is not the frantic energy of a Monday, and it is definitely not that sleepy, turn off your brain vibe of a Saturday night.
Right.
It actually feels like the day you have time to think. You are resetting. You are maybe looking back at the week that just passed and realizing it was a lot louder than you thought it was.
It was incredibly loud. And honestly, reflection is the perfect word for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I looked at the stack of sources and stories we have to get through for this deep dive, I realized the industry is currently looking in the mirror right now.
And maybe not entirely liking what it sees.
Exactly. It feels like the volume knob got broken off at level 11 this week. We have critics absolutely screaming about new releases. We have superstars making these quiet, almost solemn moves behind the scenes. And we have a whole lot of dirty laundry being aired out in the open.
It is a very messy week.
Very messy.
But messy in a way that actually tells us something about where we are right now as an industry. We aren't just reading headlines today. Our mission here is to find the pulse.
And the pulse is erratic.
It is completely skipping beats.
It is a study in contrasts, really. That is the theme I kept coming back to while I was prepping for this. On one side, you have this very heavy, almost oppressive artistic discourse.
Right, the auteur cinema.
Yes. Anurag Kashyap is back, Taapsee Pannu is back, Vishal Bhardwaj is back. And the key words for all of these are divisive, triggering, and dark.
Dark is definitely the word. But then you sort of swipe left on your feed and suddenly you are in this neon-colored world of viral videos.
Oh, the bridal gear influencer.
Yes, influencers in bridal gear and the massive industrial machinery of the blockbuster announcing entirely new cinematic universes. It is literally like walking out of a funeral and stumbling into a rave.
That is such a vivid image. But it is accurate. And we have the system failure talk to get into as well.
Oh, we absolutely do.
Taapsee Pannu gave an interview this week that we really need to sit with.
Yeah.
She is talking about the economics of female-led films versus male-led film.
A double standard.
The massive double standard. And she brought up some on-set experiences from the South that are, frankly, just uncomfortable to hear.
But necessary. And then we cannot forget the titans. We have Shah Rukh Khan, we have the Salim Khan connection, and we have the big one.
The reunion.
Rajinikanth and Kamal Hassan reuniting. Just saying their names in the same sentence feels heavy.
It carries so much history.
So we are going to go from the dark corners of noir cinema to the bright lights of the pan-India spectacle. But let's start with the movies.
Let's do it.
Because the reviews are in, and I think the critics are having a bit of an existential crisis this week.
They certainly are. And we really have to start with Kennedy.
The festival darling.
Right. The one we have been hearing about for months and months. It finally premiered on ZEE5. Directed by Anurag Kashyap, starring Rahul Bhatt and Sunny Leone.
Now, we know Kashyap. We know the grammar of his cinema.
Neon lights, police corruption, moral decay.
Exactly. But the response to this one, it is not just mixed. It is polarized in a way that suggests people are watching two entirely different films.
Oh, absolutely. I was reading through these reviews, and usually you can find a consensus line, right? Some sort of middle ground.
Not here.
Impossible here. You have Saibal Chatterjee over at NDTV, who's usually quite measured, and he just came out swinging for it. He called it Rahul Bhatt's best act yet.
Wow.
Yeah, he's putting it right up there with his work in Ugly.
And the Hindu backed that up, too. I saw they called it a haunting meditation on systemic rot. Now, when you hear that as a listener, you probably think, okay, this is vintage Kashyap.
Yeah, you think he is taking the system, exposing the decay, wrapping it in that noir aesthetic. It sounds like a total return to form.
Oh, then...
Yes, the other shoe drops.
Then I clicked over to The Hollywood Reporter India, and they did not just dislike it. They seemed almost annoyed by it.
They really did.
They wrote that this hitman drama shoots itself in the foot. And then Shubhra Gupta at the Indian Express, who, let's remember, has championed Kashyap heavily in the past.
She's been a huge supporter.
She said it drowns in its own darkness. That phrase really stuck with me. Drowns in its own darkness.
That is the key phrase of the week, I think.
Yeah.
It brings up a discussion that has been bubbling under the surface for a few years now.
The Kashyap fatigue.
Exactly. Anurag Kashyap fatigue. We know he could do dark. We know he could do grit. But is the style becoming a crutch?
Right. When you strip away the moody lighting and the shock value violence, is there actually a new story being told? Or are we just remixing Raman Raghav 2.0 with a different coat of paint?
That is the critical question. When you build a brand on being the rebel, on raw, unfiltered grit, Eventually, the audience just builds up an immunity to it.
They get desensitized.
Totally. If everything is dark, if everyone is corrupt, if every single frame is cynical, does it stop being scary and start being boring?
It stops being subversive and starts being predictable. And I think that is the death knell for noir as a genre.
It is. Noir relies on the surprise of how deep the rot goes.
Yeah.
If we go into the movie already expecting everyone to be terrible, the movie loses its tension completely.
So the criticism from THR India about the narrative struggling to deliver a coherent impact suggests that maybe the style, the coolness of the darkness is overtaking the substance?
I think that is a very fair assessment. However, I do want to pivot to Rahul Bhatt for a second.
Please do.
Because even the reviews that completely hated the movie seem to really love him.
Which is fascinating.
It is. It is fascinating that an actor can deliver a career-best performance in a movie that critics say shoots itself in the foot.
Rahul Bhatt is such an interesting case study in Bollywood. He's been around for a long time, and he is often the guy Kashyap calls when he needs someone to embody that desperate, spiraling masculinity.
Yes, Ugly was really the first time we saw it dialed up like that.
And in Kennedy, he is playing a hitman who is essentially a ghost in the system. The praise suggests that he is bringing a physicality and a silence to the role that just transcends the script problems.
It is almost like he is acting in a better movie than the one he is actually in.
That happens way more often than you would think. But it is good for him. It cements him as a serious actor, even if the vehicle itself has a flat tire.
Speaking of vehicles with flat tires, or maybe vehicles that are just driving off a cliff on purpose, let's talk about A Sea.
Oh, wow, yes!
This stars Taapsee Pannu and Kani Kazuri. If Kennedy is drowning in darkness, A Sea seems to be drowning in trauma.
This is a very different beast altogether. Kennedy is stylized darkness. A Sea is realistic, social realist darkness.
The Indian Express called it an urgent, imperative call to arms.
That language is so important.
It is, because it frames the film not as entertainment, but as a duty. Like, you must watch this to understand society.
But here is the Sunday conundrum for you. I'm sitting here, I have my feet up, I've had a long week. Do I want to watch an urgent call to arms that NDTV describes as triggering and traumatic?
That is the million-dollar question.
The Hollywood Reporter India actually said it is a film that expects complete surrender. Honestly, that sounds exhausting.
It is the eternal struggle of cinema with a conscience. We absolutely need these films. They document our reality. They give voice to the voiceless.
They're vital.
They are. But the theatrical experience, or even just the streaming weekend watch on your couch, is so often driven by a desire for escapism or catharsis.
And A Sea does not seem to offer catharsis. It offers a mirror.
Exactly. Is there a limit to how much trauma an audience can voluntarily consume? We saw this a bit post-pandemic. People just wanted happy endings. They wanted bright colors. Are we still there?
I think we are, and it connects directly to the commercial viability of these projects. Taapsee puts in the work. She is incredible in these roles. Every review says so.
She is a powerhouse.
But if the audience sees the poster and thinks, man, that is going to ruin my week, they just scroll past.
Which creates this awful paradox where the most important films are often the least watched.
It is tragic. Now, if you wanted to escape the trauma and the noir and just watch a nice romance this weekend, well, I have bad news there too.
Very bad news.
We had Dudiwan Sir Mine and O Romeo, and honestly, it sounds like love is dead in 2026.
It is completely dead. Dudiwan Sir Hermine features Siddhant Chaturvedi and Munal Thakur.
Which, on paper, that is a billion-dollar pairing.
It should be. They are both charming, they are good-looking, they are highly capable actors. You would expect sparks to just fly off the screen.
Instead, the Hindu called it a reluctant nod to imperfect love.
What does that even mean?
I have no idea. And Shubhra Gupta gave it 1.5 stars. She said it lacks Diwanapan. It lacks the madness.
How do you have a movie with Diwan in the title and have no madness?
That word Diwanapan, that madness, passion, obsession that is the fundamental currency of Bollywood romance.
Yes. If you look at the absolute classics, from DDLJ to Jab We Met, the characters are irrational.
They are crazy in love.
Right. If you make a romance that is reluctant or pragmatic, you completely lose the audience. We do not go to the movies to see pragmatic relationship management.
No.
We go to see people running after moving trains.
Exactly. But you know what shocked me even more? A Romeo.
Oh, this one hurt.
This is Vishal Bhardwaj, the man who gave us Amkara, Hader, Makbul. He is literally the Shakespeare whisperer of India. He usually turns these adaptations into absolute gold.
And yet, The Hollywood Reporter India called it curiously ineffective.
Ouch.
That is a stinging critique for a director of his caliber. Ineffective is honestly worse than bad.
Because bad can be interesting.
Bad can be a cult classic. Ineffective means it just sat there. It implies that the translation of the classic text to the modern text just did not land at all.
This actually connects to a really interesting piece from Mashable India that came out this week. It was titled, Bollywood's Ongoing Crisis with Modern Romance. Did you happen to catch that?
I did. And it is a fascinating read because it diagnoses exactly what went wrong with these two specific films.
Yeah.
The core argument they make is that the industry is fundamentally struggling to portray modern relationships authentically. They are stuck in this weird limbo.
Right. They either try to do the 90s flowers and violins thing, which feels super dated now, or they try to do this hyper-cynical Gen Z situationship thing.
Which feels fake because it's usually written by a 50-year-old man who does not understand the slang.
Exactly. The scriptwriters just haven't cracked the code of how love functions in 2026. The digital aspect, the ghosting, the shifting power dynamics, but also that enduring, genuine desire for connection.
A reluctant nod to imperfect love sounds like a movie that is just afraid to commit to a worldview, and audiences can smell that hesitation from a mile away.
If the filmmaker does not believe in the love story, why on earth should the viewer?
They shouldn't. So we have a noir that might be too dark, a social drama that might be too traumatic, and romances that aren't romantic enough. It is a very rough week for the ticket buyers.
It really is.
Yeah.
But, this disappointment in the romantic genre actually segues perfectly into the much harder conversations happening in the industry right now.
It does, because if the scripts aren't working, we have to look at the systems behind those scripts.
And nobody's looking at the system more critically or more loudly this week than Taapsee Pannu.
Taapsee dropped the microphone this week. She really, really did. We need to unpack her interview with the Quint.
Yes, let's get into it.
She said, and I'm quoting her directly here, "Female-led films need to be perfect. Men-led average films are hits."
That is the pink tax of cinema right there in one sentence.
But let me play devil's advocate for just a second. Is that actually bias? Or is it simply that the male stars, the SRKs, the Salons, the VJs, have spent 30 years building a fan base that essentially guarantees an opening weekend, whereas the female-led film is a newer economic model?
Is it fair to compare them?
That is the common counter-argument you hear from the trade analysts. It's just business. But here's why the data actually supports Taapsee's frustration.
Okay, lay it out.
When a male superstar releases a bad film, let's say, a film with a terrible script, poor direction, awful reviews, it will still open to 50, 60, maybe 100 crores worldwide on the first weekend.
Right.
The floor is very high because the audience has been conditioned over decades to show up for the person, regardless of the product.
Right. It's like, Bai's movie is out, we go, we don't ask questions.
Exactly. But for a female-led film, that floor is basically non-existent. It has to be a Kahani. It has to be a queen. It has to be Razi.
It has to be flawless.
It has to be a critical masterpiece with incredibly strong word of mouth just to get people to walk into the theater on a Saturday afternoon. The margin for error is zero.
That is so true.
A male actor can have 3 massive flops and still get a 4th massive budget greenlit the next day. A female actor has 1 flop, and the producers throw their hands up and say, "See? Female films just do not work at the box office."
That is the exact double standard she is pointing out. That distinction between the floor and the ceiling is crucial to understanding the industry's economics.
And Taapsee did not stop at the economics. She went into the aesthetics, too, which was even more revealing.
She opened up about her early time in the South industry. She specifically recalled demands from directors to wear padded bras on set.
Because the filmmakers felt she wasn't, let's say, curvaceous enough for their specific visual template of what a heroine should look like.
This is where the conversation shifts from business to basic human dignity, and we have to be very careful not to dismiss this as just an old story from the past.
It is humiliating. Imagine showing up to do a professional job. You have memorized your lines, you have prepped the character, you are ready to perform.
And the first feedback you get from the director is, here, put this foam in your dress because your body does not look right for my camera.
It completely treats the actress as a prop. The prop does not look right, so we need to fix the prop.
Right.
It strips away all the agency and the artistry of the performer.
And what is really striking to me is the contrast happening right now.
How?
Well, look at Aussie. In Aussie, Topsy is being universally praised for this gritty, powerhouse performance in a heavy courtroom drama. She is literally carrying the emotional weight of the entire film.
Right.
And yet, she carries the very real memory of being told she needs physical padding to be visually acceptable on screen. The schizophrenia of this industry is wild.
Wanting strong women, but also demanding visual commodities.
Hmm.
It is heartbreaking when you lay it out like that.
It really highlights why she is speaking out now, though. She actually has the leverage now. 10 years ago, if she said this in an interview, she might have been blacklisted.
Precisely. This is a massive power move.
Yeah.
She's using her current platform to say, this was wrong, and I'm putting it on the record, hoping the next generation of girls does not have to deal with it.
And speaking of people using their leverage to throw stones, Anurag Kashyap, who we just discussed regarding Kennedy, decided to casually start a war with the Kerala story, too.
Oh, boy.
Huh.
He did not mince words at all.
No, he did not. He called the film propaganda and directly slammed the producer, Vipul Amrutla Shah.
Usually in Bollywood, the code of conduct is very strict. You might absolutely hate a movie, but in public, what do you say?
You say, oh, I haven't seen it yet, or I wish the team all the best.
Exactly. You do not attack another person's bread and butter. You don't mess with someone's release. But Kashyap just bypassed all of that and went straight for the jugular.
It is extremely rare for an insider to be this openly critical of a peer's production. Usually there is this thick wall of silence.
But Kashyap has never really cared about the code, has he?
Never.
By calling it propaganda, he's stripping away the usual defense of, hey, it's just a story, it's just fiction. He is saying, no, this is a deliberate political tool.
And by doing that so publicly, he kind of forces everyone else in the industry to pick a side, which makes the establishment very, very uncomfortable.
It does. It reignites the whole debate about where the line is between storytelling and political agendas. And here in 2026, that line is blurrier than it has ever been.
It really is. It is fascinating to me that we have these deep, heavy political and gender debates happening at the exact same time that the blockbuster machine is just rolling along.
It is crushing everything in its path.
It really does not care about the artistic reviews for Kennedy. It just wants to know the opening day advance booking numbers for Toxic.
The machine never stops. And the main fuel for that machine right now is the pan-India film formula. We got some massive updates on Toxic this week.
Yes, which is Yash's next big project. Let's break this down for a second.
Let's do it.
Yash is coming off KGF, which was an absolute monster at the box office. Now he has Toxic releasing later in 2026. They just signed a massive music deal with Z Music Company.
But look at the casting updates. That is the real story here.
They have added Sangeeta Sheikh to the cast alongside Nayanthara and Kiara Advani.
This casting sheet is a masterclass in modern market economics. It is not just about who fits the character perfectly, it is about territory capture.
Explain that concept for the listeners who might not follow the trade jargon.
Sure. So you have Yash at the center. He automatically locks down the Karnataka market and brings in that massive mass audience across all of India who loved his swagger in KGF.
That is your foundation.
That's your base. Then you bring in Nayanthara. She is the lady superstar of Tamil cinema. By casting her, suddenly your satellite and theatrical rights value in the entire Tamil-speaking belt doubles overnight.
Wow.
Then you get Kiara Advani. She is a massive darling of the Hindi belt, very familiar to the multiplex audience in Mumbai, Delhi, the urban centers.
And Sangeeta Sheikh, where does she fit in this puzzle?
Sangeeta brings a very specific, incredibly loyal audience from television and OTT platforms. She hits a demographic that maybe does not rush to the theater for a violent gangster movie naturally.
But they will go to see her.
Exactly. It's all about mitigating financial risk. If the script turns out to be weak, the combined dedicated fan bases of these 4 stars ensure you still get a massive opening weekend.
It is literally the Avengers strategy applied to Indian demographics.
It is cynical, but it is brilliant. We need 10% more market share in the north. Get Kiara. We need the TV aunties to buy tickets. Get Sangeeta.
It is demographic bingo. And honestly, with the budgets these films have, now we are talking 300, 400 cores. You cannot rely on art anymore. You have to rely on math.
Math is the only thing that guarantees return. And speaking of math, nothing calculates ROI better than religion these days.
Oh, that is so true. The divine cinematic universe is expanding rapidly.
That is a great way to put it. We have Rishabh Shetty, the man who created a global phenomenon with Kantara, currently filming Jai Hanuman.
And he didn't just quietly start filming in a studio. He started with a massive puja in Hampi, specifically at Anjanadri Betta.
Which is widely believed to be the birthplace of Lord Hanuman.
Oh, right.
This is marketing genius, obviously, but is also deeper than that. Rishabh Shetty fundamentally understands cultural rooting.
Kantara worked because it felt so authentic to the actual soil of coastal Karnataka. It wasn't a shiny Bollywood version of a village. It was the real muddy thing.
Exactly. So by launching Jai Hanuman at the actual sacred birthplace, he is signaling to the audience very clearly, this is not a cash grab. This is an act of devotion.
It turns a standard movie ticket into a pilgrimage.
It creates an emotional ownership for the audience. This is our story. This is our God. It builds a kind of hype that a massive billboard in Mumbai simply cannot buy.
And this is all part of the expanding Hanuman universe. We are genuinely seeing the marvelization of Indian mythology.
We are. And frankly, if anyone can pull it off with the right balance of massive spectacle and deep cultural respect, it is Rishabh.
I am genuinely excited for that one, but I'm also really looking forward to Samantha's return. We finally got a release date for Ma Inti Bangaram.
May 15th, 2026.
Yes. This looks very promising, and Samantha is co-producing this one. The central theme of the film is a woman's resilience.
Which feels incredibly personal for her, given her last few years in the public eye.
The health struggles, the highly publicized divorce.
It does. And when an actor decides to produce, they immediately have more control over the narrative. They aren't just a prop to be dressed up and pushed on camera, like we discussed with Tapsi.
They become the architect of the project.
Yes, it is a really nice counter-narrative to the victimization we often see. She's betting on herself and taking the reins.
We also have some quick regional updates to cover. Rumors are swirling heavily that Thalapathy Vijay's final film, Jananayagan, might be delayed.
That is going to cause some serious anxiety in the South.
Oh, massive.
Fans are literally counting down the days because he has officially announced his political entry. This is supposed to be the swan song. Every single delay feels like a crisis to the fan clubs.
And on a lighter note, Pradeep Ranganathan is hinting at a Dragon sequel.
He tweeted, "We will come back second time. The absolute confidence of youth. He is striking while the iron is hot."
Now, I want to pivot a bit. We have talked a lot about the business, the politics, the harsh reviews.
The heavy stuff.
Yeah. But this week, there were some moments that just felt, I don't know, deeply human. You know what I mean?
I do.
The kind of stories that remind you that behind the heavy makeup and the aggressive PR teams and the box office wars, these are real people with decades of shared history.
I agree completely. The headline that really touched me this week, and I think it touched a lot of people online, was Shah Rukh Khan visiting Salim Khan.
Yes. Late at night at Lilavati Hospital.
For our younger listeners who might just know Salim Khan as Salman's dad, it is so important to understand the immense weight of this visit.
Give us the context.
Salim Khan, along with Javed Akhtar, literally wrote the industry into existence as we know it back in the 70s. They created the angry young man archetypes. They wrote Sholay. They wrote Diwar.
They are the architects of the modern Bollywood hero.
They are. And SRK, well, he's the king who ultimately inherited that kingdom they built.
Exactly. But seeing him go there late at night, it wasn't a PR stunt. There were no cameras invited, just a leaked photo. It is a reminder of the deep personal relationships that exist behind the glitz.
These bonds go back 30, 40 years. It is about respect. It is about respecting the elders who built the house you are currently living in.
It is a very touching reminder. It really cuts through all the noise of those toxic fan wars on Twitter between SRK fans and Salman fans. The men themselves are essentially family.
And speaking of vulnerability and humanity, Hrithik Roshan wrote a beautiful tribute to his mentor, Baig, this week.
I read that. I was lost, and you helped me find my way back. That is such a powerful, raw admission from a massive superstar.
Think about the public image of Hrithik Roshan for a second. The Greek god. The absolutely perfect dancer, the perfect body, the green eyes. We project total perfection onto him.
We expect him to be flawless.
But here he is, openly talking about his severe speech issues, his crippling confidence struggles as a young man, and how this one teacher made all the difference in his life.
It humanizes him completely. It shows that the perfection we see on screen was actually built on years of painful struggle and gentle guidance. It is a lovely tribute to the power of a good teacher.
But the ultimate feel-good story of the week, maybe of the entire decade, is the reunion of the absolute bosses.
Rajinikanth and Kamal Hassan.
This is the big one. 47 years.
Do you even believe it? 47 years since they acted together in a film.
For context, they last worked together in the late 70s when they were both just young men trying to make a mark in the industry.
And the story goes that Balachander, their mentor, advised them to split up because they were just too big to be in the same frame. They would cannibalize each other's markets.
And now they are finally reuniting for a film directed by Nelson.
The promo they released, did you see it?
Oh, of course I saw it. The retro vibes, the gangster theme, it is just cool. There's honestly no other word for it. It oozes coolness.
But what I really love is the message it sends to the hardcore fans. Because let's be honest, the Regini fans and the Kamal fans, they do not get along at all.
That is putting it very mildly. It is a legendary, decades-old rivalry. It is the class versus the mass, the pure actor versus the ultimate star.
But here are the two men themselves, in the twilight of their legendary careers, holding hands essentially and saying to the world, "We are friends. We are collaborators."
It is a massive lesson in grace.
It is like they are telling the fans, chill out. We are cool with each other. You should be too.
Exactly. And bringing Nelson in to direct this, that is the absolute secret sauce.
Why Nelson specifically?
Nelson has that very quirky, dark humor style. Think of his work in Doctor or Jailer. He is not going to make a boring, melodramatic tribute film that just worships them.
Right.
He will make something fun, highly stylish, and probably a little weird. I think it is going to be an absolute riot.
It acknowledges their massive legacy without being weighed down by it. And speaking of legacy, Ranbir Kapoor is making some huge moves in Mumbai.
He leased 5 floors in Andheri to revive RK Studios.
This is very significant. We all mourn when the original RK Studios property in Chembur was sold off a few years ago. It really felt like a massive piece of cinematic history was just paved over.
That is where Raj Kapoor made Awara and Shri 420. It was holy ground.
So this new lease isn't just a real estate deal for a corporate office.
No, it is deep symbolism. It is Ranbir saying, the physical location might change, but the legacy continues under my watch.
He is carrying the Kapoor banner forward in a modern format.
It is responsible stewardship of a historic family name. It shows he is thinking about the institution of cinema, not just his next acting paycheck.
I love that. It balances out all the new chaos we talked about earlier with some old school respect.
It does.
Speaking of chaos, shall we scroll through the page 3 section before we wrap up? Because the fashion and the viral moments this week were just all over the place.
Let's do it. It is the dessert after a very heavy meal. Who is winning the fashion game this week?
Unanimously, the internet seems to agree it is Karisma Kapoor.
The 90s queen returns.
She stepped out in a very simple, elegant salwar suit, and the internet just collectively melted. Everyone is calling her the 90s queen. The nostalgia factor is hitting huge right now.
It really is. We are living in this world of overstyled, avant-garde red carpet looks where people are wearing wire meshes and recycled plastic.
Right, it's all so conceptual.
So seeing someone look effortlessly classic in a standard salwar suit feels incredibly refreshing. It is attainable glamour. It reminds people of a much simpler time in Bollywood fashion.
Contrast that immediately with Noura Fatehi, who was seen in a super bold, shiny, heavily embellished concert look this week. Very high energy, ready for the stage.
Well, that is Naira. She brings the spectacle. Karisma brings the grace.
Yeah.
There's absolutely room for both in the ecosystem. One is for the Instagram feed, the other is for the heart.
Now, we do have to touch on the rumor mill, but we will keep it very light. Malaika Arora is vacationing in Italy, and a viral picture with Harsh Mehta has sparked some intense dating buzz.
Italy is always dangerous for rumors. You cannot just have pasta and peace in that country.
Apparently not. If you are in Italy with a man, you are automatically getting married, according to the internet.
That is the rule.
And speaking of marriage, there is Tanya Middle. A video of her in a full bridal outfit went completely viral, and she captioned it, "Preparation is on."
Now, is she actually getting married? Is it a magazine photo shoot? Is it a high-end ad for jewelry?
Who knows?
This is the absolute genius of the viral age. Ambiguity creates maximum engagement. We are all talking about it right now. People are speculating in her comments. So she wins the algorithm either way.
Yeah.
It is the soft launch of a rumor.
True. But here are the 2 viral stories that really made me pause because they tell us so much about the internal culture of the industry. First, Vishwak Sen.
Oh, the Rolex.
At the teaser launch of Cult, he just casually gifted a Rolex watch to his music composer Ravi Basrur right there on stage.
The grand gestures of the South industry. They simply do not do things by halves. In Bollywood, maybe you send a nice gift basket or a handwritten note.
Right.
In the South, if you really like the background score, you hand over a solid gold Rolex in front of 50 flashing cameras.
It is a massive flex.
It is. It is a display of deep affection, but also a very public display of success. It says to the world, we are rich, we are generous, and we take care of our own people. It was very tribal in the best possible way.
And then the most fascinating career pivot I think I have heard in years. Alu Arjun's former co-star, the reports are not naming names prominently, but the specific stats are out there. She appeared in 10 films, earned $45 million collectively for those
A
films,
massive sum.
and then she just quit to join the corporate world.
That is wild to me. Usually people run away from the corporate world to join Bollywood. Everyone wants to escape the boring cubicle to be a movie star.
Right, who looks at a glamorous film set and says, you know what I really miss? Excel spreadsheets. I really miss quarterly business reviews.
Maybe she just wanted stability. Or maybe, and this ties back to our earlier conversation, maybe she realized that the glamour isn't all it is cracked up to be.
Especially after hearing stories like Tapsi's.
Exactly. Maybe she experienced those padded bra moments or the brutal uncertainty of release dates and thought, you know what? A 9-to-5 with a clear HR policy and a solid provident fund looks pretty good right now.
That is a very valid point. I would like a job where my boss cannot scream at me without a lawsuit, please.
It is a fascinating case study. It proves that money isn't everything. Even $45 million cannot buy you peace of mind if the working environment is toxic.
Before we wrap up this massive deep dive, we do have to mention some somber notes from the week. We are sending all our good thoughts to Zareen Khan, who publicly asked for prayers for her mother, who is hospitalized again.
Yes, wishing them immense strength. Health is the one true thing that levels everyone, movie stars included.
And Rajpal Yadav is officially out of jail after that long check bounce case. He posted that he hasn't even checked his phone yet, but is very grateful for the public support.
It is good to see him back out. He is a phenomenal comic talent that we have really missed on screen.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can just put all the legal troubles behind him and get back to making us laugh.
So let's unpack this whole session. What does this all mean for you listening at home? We started with the heavy darkness of Kennedy and ended with the light of Karisma Kapoor's fashion and the quirkiness of Rolex gifts.
We covered a lot of ground. And I think the big takeaway here is that the industry is in a state of massive, unprecedented flux.
It really feels like it.
We are struggling with the absolute basics. How do we tell a simple love story in 2026? How do we treat women fairly and with dignity on set? How do we balance artistic noir with the aggressive commercial needs of the box office?
It feels like the old rules are breaking down completely, and the new rules just haven't been written yet.
That is the perfect way to describe it. We are in the messy middle. The auteur directors like Kashyap and Bharadwaj are facing real pushback from audiences. Their inherent genius is being questioned.
While a spectacle takes over.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the massive spectacle films like Toxic and Jai Heinerman are taking center stage, completely rewriting the economics of the business with these pan-India strategies.
That actually brings us perfectly to our final provocative thought for the listener today.
Yes. With directors like Anurag Kashyap facing mixed reviews and franchises like Jai Hanuman and Toxic completely dominating the headlines, are we currently witnessing the end of the auteur era?
That is a scary thought.
And the total dominance of the spectacle? Is a director becoming less important than the universe they are hired to build? Are we moving into a sterile era where the IP is the actual star and the filmmaker is just a mechanic hired to assemble the parts?
That is definitely something to mull over while you finish your Sunday and prep for the week ahead. It has been a wild ride today.
It always is.
From headlines to heartbeats, you've been listening to Bollywood Deep Dive by IndiaRevue.com. Catch you where the stories are.